CGB, welcome. Just as you probably know, you rate Hearthstone cards. This one in particular is going to be rather interesting because not only do we get a brand new expansion, unlike your game, we actually have rotations every single year. And
that is cold. That is a kick right to my balls, and we haven't even gotten started. Okay, continue.
Because of that, a lot of these cards have a very fresh space in Standard to shine. This is into the Emerald Dream. This is made by one of my good friends at Hearthstone, Alex Smith. This is his set, his love child. He loves this set so much. So if you crush his dreams, he will be crying probably, just so you're fully aware. So remember when you rate these cards, you try to be very optimistic, and you're here to just show Alex he did a good job. I was going to only do the wild gods without going into lore reasons. Half the classes have wild gods, and there's a couple neutral ones. But for the context of this video, I'm going to show you just a lot of different legendaries for this set because I think there's a lot of cool ones. I will not be showing you the imbue mechanic, which is one of the most important mechanics of this set. Half the classes got them, but for the sake of time and for the sake of just rating cards in a vacuum without showing you every imbue card, I'm just going to take that away for anyone who is curious why I'm not showing them. Okay, that's not for you. That's just for the people watching.
Cool. I like limited information. It helps me make the best decisions.
Well, let's see what you think. Here's your very first card.
What? 10 mana? Oh my god. Okay, we're starting off hot. Tortolla. This is Tortolla cool. It is a 10 mana 130.
130.
Infinite ass creature. All right. Taunt elusive. After this takes damage, gain 1 armor and give this minion +1 attack. What does elusive mean?
Elusive means it cannot be targeted by a hero power or spell. It can still be damaged by an AoE spell, but you can't like target it with anything. So if a spell said like kill a minion that has 1 attack or less and you have to target it, you can't target this.
Wow.
So in other words, this he is a thick boy that is super annoying to get rid of.
Unkillable 130, untargetable with removal, doesn't die to Doomblade in Magic terms. But here, Rarran, what's going on? You start me off with a 10 mana card. I was expecting it to like get his cost reduced somehow. 10 mana?
Well, I didn't say there's no way for you to cheat it out. I just said,
well, what class am I looking at?
This is Warrior. Would you like to see a card to cheat it out?
Yeah. Talk to me, Goose. Let's go.
Okay. You don't think this card's playable at 10 mana?
Oh, that's a good question and a different question, but like, let's just say 4 mana would be better. I know. This is why you bring me in.
4 mana would be better.
Chemical Spill is 5 mana. It says summon the highest cost minion from your hand and then deal 5 damage to it. Oh, dude, that's so cool. No, that's the okay. Now we're cooking. So you have to have Mega Turtle here in your hand, and then for 5 you get a 125. That's gross. Oh, and it takes damage, so you gain 1 armor and you give it +1 attack. We're rolling. It's a 224. That's a horse of a different color. Oh my god. Well, okay. It's 10 mana. Let's assume we got this on the battlefield by some way. Like, oh my god, it's like you gain 30 life. It's so big. They have to attack into it, and each time they do, you gain an armor. So like it's no matter how much damage it takes, you gain 1 armor, right? So if this gets punched for 10, you gain 1 armor.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. That's still like, it's still like you gain so much health that if somebody were just trying to aggro you out, now they have to basically crawl through hell to do it. Might be impossible, like the amount of resources they'd have to spend on this without actually targeting it with some kind of a removal effect. Are there ways to get around this? Because usually in Magic, there's some mechanic that is sneaky. Like it says you have to sacrifice a creature and then this card just dies. Or there's like you swap control between one of your things and their thing, and then you just get this yoinked from you. Is it? Do you get around it?
There are cards in this game that will negate this card pretty quickly. That's the way I could describe it. Unless you want me to show you like every card in the set. There's a card called the Black Knight.
Fine.
I'll give you that here. I'll show you like a couple of them in case you're curious. Because I'm sure that the extra information is gonna super help you to get this correct.
To get this correct. All right. The Black Knight is a 4 mana 4/4 that is tradable, and that I remember is like Magic cycling. Like you can discard it to draw another card. The battle cry is destroy an enemy minion with taunt. That gets around elusive?
So that's not a spell, right?
Oh God, minions aren't spells. Jesus. How many times do we have to do this? Okay. God damn it. Okay. All right. Oh, that makes this card so much worse, though. If elusive is only immunity to spells. Oh, no. No. My big amphibious creature. No.
That doesn't mean that every character or every class runs this, for the record. I just want to make that very clear.
Yeah.
It just means that it isn't. There's also like cards like this. In case you're curious.
Origami Dragon. LOL. Origami Dragon. It's 6 mana for a 1/1 with Divine Shield, Lifesteal, and the battle cry is to swap the stats with another minion. Okay, that so brutal. That would be so nasty. Oh my God, no. No. Oh no. It was such a thick turtle. Oh God, the feels bads are all, they're reciprocal. So with the chemical spill, it was already like a question of, can you get these 2 cards in your hand and just have it ready to go at a time where it's actually relevant? Or, you know, can you combine chemical spill? Like, can you run chemical spill in a deck with a whole bunch of hits that aren't going to cost you the game if they're in your hand, like for a turn or 2? And that's already like a tough ask, right? And now it's like, you, even if you do the thing, there are ways around it. And it's so, like, if this does become meta, people start running more of this. The feels bads are so brutal. I like this card, but it's 10 mana. I can't.
You can cheat. There are
so many. There are so many things that where it's like, on its own, if you cast it for 10 mana, do you win the game? If you cast this for 10 mana and it doesn't die, do you win the game? Well, now the opponent, if they specifically are a deck that needs to attack to win the game, they have to claw through hell to get you. You still have to win the game. You still have to get to play. Like, just staying alive to play this thing or putting together the combo to cheat it out takes resources. Dude, I can't with a 10 mana creature, like, right off the bat. I can't.
Listen,
it's
you got
cool,
it.
but there's no way, right? This isn't what we do in Hearthstone, right? Just play massive ass and hope that it lives. No, I can't. This is Rarran land. That's what this is.
This is Rarran land?
This is Rarran land.
So you're going with this is unplayable.
God, yeah. I think people will try, but yeah, I don't think this is that kind of good.
So just so everyone's aware, I am doing this video like 5 days after the expansion came out, which means we haven't had a patch yet. This is just purely what the first patch of the Into the Emerald Dream was. Currently, this card is playable in a deck called Hydration Warrior, and there's a card called Hydration Station that can res 3 of your highest cost taunt minions, and you could play 2 of those cards. So even if they do kill this, you could res this twice, and then they have to get through the body once again.
How much does that cost?
That costs 10 mana. So all you really have to do is live for that. Here's the problem. This is not good enough yet. The problem with Tortolla is the fact that it only has 1 attack. Yeah, it's very thick, but it's not really putting any pressure on your opponents. And there's a lot of decks that could just deal with it in a bunch of different ways, or they just don't care enough to really answer it. Currently, the deck only has a 49% win rate in Diamond Legend. And the lower we go in the bracket, it seems like the deck only gets worse and worse. So currently, Tortolla is not a good card in standard. There is a card in this game, I'm sure, I don't know if I've shown you it before. I am going to show you it because I think it is extremely relevant for like why this card is not really playable currently. Kill Jaden kind of negates maybe the biggest strength of Tortolla, which is delaying the game to the point where your opponent just can't kill you anymore. And that usually happens because your opponent runs out of threats and they run out of resources to kind of get through these bodies, and then you kind of just win the game. But because Kill Jaden exists, you don't have to worry about fatigue anymore and running out of resources, because like I said, Tortolla's biggest problem is it only has 1 attack.
It's kind of heartbreaking.
It is
kind of heartbreaking. Like, how many stats can you print on something and give it elusive and to get it played? It's crazy.
I get you. All right, here's your next card.
Ersoch. Oh man, 9 mana for a 6/14. What are these numbers on your Hearthstone cards these days? Oh my God. The battle cry is attack all other minions, and the death rattle is to resurrect any this killed. So you put this down and it sees everything else on the field, including your own, and it goes punchy. It has 14, so it's probably going to live long enough to hit most of them. Does it attack them simultaneously or one by one? And if so, is the order at random?
Order's random. It is in one instance, but it's one at a time. So the battle cry will trigger. If there's like 5 minions, it will attack a minion individually, check its health total. If it dies, it will no longer attack, and it will resurrect anything that it summoned. It is important to note here that you can hit your own minions.
Yep.
That is, I feel like I should say that just in case, but yes, that's how it works.
Yep. So it's definitely a death rattle machine on your own stuff. It's an absolute death rattle machine. There's also the case where like the opponent just plays like a 7/7. Does this have to attack it twice and then it might just die?
Yes.
But it would resurrect that 7/7.
It would resurrect the 7/7. Yes.
So what kind of boards are we talking about? What are we doing in Hearthstone these days? First of all, this is a generic class?
This is Death Knight.
This is Death Knight. Okay, it's not Druid. It doesn't cost 6 mana. Got it. Okay, good. So there's probably a lot of good death rattles if I remember what's going on in Death Knight. I think it's a death rattle-y clan.
I would say currently I wouldn't consider the death rattle package. Like if your concept is like you want to go like kill, like attack a bunch of minions and then use its death rattle to resurrect it multiple times, I wouldn't use it like that. I would say in most instances this card is used just to clear a board.
I mean, it is that, and you can definitely manage your own board if you want to clear the board first. You can attack anything you have lying around on the board into some bigger thing to put it in range of the Ersoch, killing it. And 14 health seems enough to kill a number of things before it goes down, if not all the things. In Hearthstone terms, with the cards you've shown me, I feel like I've seen worse attempts to clear a board in my life.
Okay.
But those weren't from 2025. You just showed me something with 30 health. An expensive body that provides a board wipe and then brings back a board seems good. It seems good. Is it good by modern standards? That is tough because I haven't seen the bodies, but this seems like enough. Like the stats are good. The creature is good. This card, God, I hope this card sees play. I'm gonna believe in the card. It seems like a flip the board wipe should be good. It should be good. This card should see play.
So this one is a little bit more of a nuanced answer because Ersoch is being played in one of the best Death Knight decks available. But it is, based on HS replay data, one of the worst cards in it. In terms of play win rate.
Stats are rigged. They're bullshit, and you know it.
The biggest problem with Ersoch is the fact that it has such an awkward stat line, and you never want to play this card when you're behind, or sorry, when you're ahead, right? It is kind of just a dead card in your hand. So you're only playing this if you're actually behind and you need to swing the board. But sometimes, and this is probably the bigger issue, if there is only one big minion on the board, it's like you could just kill that and then this thing dies and you don't summon anything else besides that big minion, which sometimes is good, right? But like you could do that way better with instead of 9 mana. Because I don't have like a lot of these videos, right? There's a lot of time that passes so I can give you like a really good analysis of how the card's done over like multiple months. But because we're doing this so soon after, I have to look at data to see how it's doing, because I can't just give you my own personal experience. I can tell you from my personal experience, I think this card's awful. But that's because I'm unlucky.
No.
So
this card, what happened, bro? Did you play this and just wreck your own creature and that was it?
Yeah. that's exactly it. That's literally it. Okay. Here's your next card.
Sounds like a skill issue, Rarran. Let's see here. This is Nythendra, a 7-mana 7/7 undead dragon with taunt and a death rattle to split into 1/1 beetles. How many 1/1 beetles? At the start of your turn, reform with any remaining.
So it starts as a 7/7. If this dies, you summon 7 on the board. Let's say you have no minions on board. So it's a 7/7. If none of those beetles dies, this will come back as the exact same card as you're reading. If one of them dies, this will be a 6/6. And if 2 of them die, it'll be a 5/5 and so on and so forth until there's none left, and then this will be over. It is important to know for Death Knight in particular that this is 2 unholy, which means when you make a deck, you can only add this to a deck that has at least 2 unholy runes in it. So you don't have to know the specifics of that, but it means that this can only go in very specific decks that cater towards that rune requirement.
That's interesting. So deck building limitations built into the cards themselves.
Yes. Yes.
Love that. That's usually a signpost, though, that something's supposed to be good. The beetle thing is just to be annoying in death. It's for the opponent to have to fight through. Yeah, it's because they need to remove this, and then they need to navigate as many beetles as possible, like kind of burn down as many beetles as possible. If they have something that just does 1 damage to the board, they did the job after destroying this in some way. And if they don't, they're gonna have to deal with something like this again. So when these are reformed, the Nythendra can attack right away, right? The reformed Nythendra?
It will have summoning sickness, I believe.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. That's
because it's like a brand new minion on the turn for summon. Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of a bummer. That's a bit of a bummer. I
think if it had charge, it would be broken.
It seems annoying. It's a very annoying card. It's 7 mana, but it's statted like I'm thinking about, remember Dr. Boom? Remember the good old days of Dr. Boom? You just put that on the board and the bombs, and it's like the stats and the damage alone was enough to like really swing a game or stabilize a game. This does feel like if you play it ahead, the opponent is in a tough spot of trying to deal with it, and if they don't have a way to get around the death rattle, they're in trouble. And if you play it from behind, now they have a much harder time. Like, they have to get through this to get to you, but then it's like if they do get rid of this, they also have to deal with the beetles, or they're just going to have to go through it again. So it strikes me as a good card. It strikes me as a good card in traditional Hearthstone. And then the question becomes, is this traditional Hearthstone? This might be an indictment. I'm gonna say this is a good Hearthstone card, because if it's not, something's broken. The game just isn't what it was. The game has none of the Hearthstone soul left, because this should be able to swing a game. It's good ahead, it's good behind, and you should be able to cast a 7 mana 7/7 in a solid game of Hearthstone most of the time. So let's call it a good card and be optimistic.
Alex, if you're watching this, please don't take this personally. Horrible card.
No, God, no.
Actually, so
no.
A 7. It's actually insane that you think this card's playable. It blows my mind. Let me explain this. 7 mana 7/7 taunt is probably not even playable when Dr. Boom was playable. The next best thing
Beetles. It goes Beetles.
The Beetles are really interesting, but here's the thing: if you're behind, they just clean up the Beetles, and it's like nothing really happened. It's really easy to do 1 damage, I think, across the board. But also, and like I gave you the rune requirement for this. I wasn't even expecting you to really, think about it when you did your analysis here. I think if this didn't have a single rune requirement, it would not be playable. Like that's how slow and bad this currently is. There's just too many things that are better than this. I don't even have to look at stats for this card. This card's just bad. And I think the only time I've ever seen it played, in a game of Hearthstone, if it's randomly generated, and that is it. And even when it's randomly generated, the fact that it comes back is actually not great for you, because it takes up a board slot. That's where this card's at, unfortunately.
You showed me a stinker and you got me. Oh, no.
It is not playable. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's gross.
I'm sorry.
I was excited.
You just
it seems cool. I'm in dragon mode. We have a dragon set coming out in Magic, and I'm just like, yay, dragon. My Timmy came out and played.
It's crazy you just shit talk Alex like that. That is insane.
No. I did?
You said if this is not playable, something's wrong with Hearthstone.
Something's wrong with Hearthstone. I stand by that. This card's sweet. It's a sweet card.
Okay.
It's a good old undead dragon that just keeps making more stuff. That's cool. There should be a way to take advantage of that.
Let me show you this card. Let me see what you think.
Okay. Tortolla the Unbreaking is 5 mana for a 3/4 Divine Shield taunt. Your Divine Shields take 3 hits to break. Jesus. 3 hits? It's annoying.
And that, again, that is not just on him. That is on every Divine Shield that you have.
Is Divine Shield the deck a thing? Just Divine Spam?
I would say no.
Okay. So it might pair with something else on a good day.
I would think about this more, not even pairing. I would say you can rate this card in a vacuum and not even think about other Divine Shields.
I mean, you can just remove, like you can use a removal spell, right? And you're good.
Oh, you absolutely could. Yeah, you could.
Yeah, you're good. So 5 mana for a 3/4, that might be good if the opponent can't deal with it in a specific way, and then on the other side they just have to throw 3 Zergs into it, and this is fine.
It's sad how did you play this game? Hold on, what did you know that?
What?
No, I'm kidding.
What did I miss? What did I do wrong?
No, continue.
I don't play this game. Wait, what did I miss? No, Divine Shield is like only from damage, right?
Yeah, it's just funny how accurate that last sentence was with the Zergs.
Oh yeah, well, I saw we did the Zerg video. They were busted as hell.
You're right. You're right.
It made an impression. I just picture every board by turn 3 now is completely full of stats at all times. That's like
fair.
what I'm picturing.
That is fair.
So yeah, if you're going to spend 5 mana on this thing and it eats up a chunk of that board, are you happy? It seems like making just more dorks is trivial. 3 hits to break. I mean, it seems good in a specific situation, but man, it's 5 mana for a 3/4, dude. Like, are you even killing anything with this, even if it is hitting? There's no way this is good, right? There's no way. You're not, this is another lemon, right? I don't think this is good. I'm not impressed with Divine Shield. I'm not, putting 3 shields on something to me says, if I play this, they're going to have the exact exile based, like in Magic terms, exile removal that just gets around it and makes me cry. So I don't like this card. I'm not impressed.
Okay, so let's go back in time with Tortolla here. So when this card was first released, I was right there with you. I said that this card is playable in very specific circumstances where your opponent just can't remove it, because it could be it's a wall. Like if your opponent only has minion based combat and they only have 1 big minion, they can't get through like this, so it takes them forever to get through. It could be like 3 turns difference depending on what the board state looks like and what deck your opponent's playing against. But even then, I think it's like, is it really that bad? What are you really killing with this? Whatever. They did a Tavern Brawl last week, which was Into the Emerald Dream, the Great Dark Beyond without StarCraft in it, and a core set, which is basically like, you know, the fundamental of the class cards. And this card actually ended up being pretty great because there's not as much removal. A lot of the cards were weaker. So I took what I thought was correct of saying this card is very bad, or not very bad, but bad, to actually being pretty up on this card because it won me a couple of games because my opponent couldn't get through it. Now we're back in reality. We're no longer in Rarran land. We're back in actual standard Hearthstone. This card is not seeing any play.
Okay. I'm not crazy. I haven't lost it all. Okay.
So
we're still hanging in there.
This card is weird because the win rate of the card, if I'm looking at it, is not necessarily bad. It's around 50%, but it's not being played a lot, which means that the people who are playing it, I guess, are having fun in Rarran land. I'm not really sure what the outcome is here. But the Paladin deck that is competitively viable for the most part is not running it in its deck currently.
This is where we're at. Divine Shield itself as an ability is just going to get buffed to where every Divine Shield takes 3 hits to break. That's what they're going to need to keep this relevant.
Well, when this card first came out, I read it as like, for the rest of your game, your Divine Shields take 3 hits to break. And I was like, I'm not going to play this game anymore. But then,
that would be pretty epic.
That would be, epic's not really the word I would use. Anyways,
that would be a move.
Here is your next one. Don't ask me how to pronounce this because I still don't pronounce this properly. So pronounce it however you think.
That's Agamagan. That's what that is. That's easy. Agamagan.
I pronounce it Agamagan.
You're wrong.
No, that's probably you're
I don't know
right.
what to tell you. That's easy. That's so easy. All right.
Okay.
10 mana for an 8/9 beast with Battle Cry. The next card you play costs your opponent's health instead of mana. What? The next card you play costs your opponent's health instead of mana up to 10. So it's a max of 10 mana. And most of the time, under most circumstances, I feel like it says the next card you play costs 10. Why would that be good? That's
the dream case scenario. So like, I would think of this as whatever card you're actually playing. On top of that, you have to have 10 mana, of course, but you will deal the damage of that card and you get an 8/9 body. That's the way I would look at it.
You will deal the damage of that. Oh, it hurts them.
Yes.
Oh, I thought you just had to pay that much mana.
No.
Instead of mana. The next card you play costs your opponent's health. You pay with your opponent's health, not with your mana.
Yes, you have to spend 10 mana for the Agamagan, so you get an 8/9. But then the next card you play costs your opponent's life. Can kill them, by the way. You can kill them with this effect. And so you can think about the card that follows up with this is that it's free. It deals damage to your opponent.
Oh shit. So let's talk. 10 mana, you play this. What class is this one? Death Knight?
Warlock.
See, I'm getting so good at this. 10 mana, and then how many of these can you have in your deck?
1.
Damn it. Okay, I was like, how do you get more?
I know exactly what you're thinking.
And then play another, and then play another. And we can't shadow step it. Damn it. Okay, let's go. Jesus. Oh my God. Now that gets the neurons firing, my friend, because obviously you're going to want to just play another 10 mana card and just hit them as hard as you can and have as big an effect as you can have.
That is correct.
Yeah. So like, I'm trying to think of other cards you've shown me recently of like what the biggest, like, you are so screwed, like other play that like is there, I mean, I guess you could just tell me, is there like a 1-card combo with this? You play this and then you play another card that like maybe makes their opponent lose their half their life, but then they also lose another 10, like, and they're just dead on the spot?
I would say in standard, no. I think most of the time you're probably doing, like, there's a card I showed you from the last, the Great Dark Beyond called the Ceaseless Expanse. It was 100 mana. Do you remember that guy?
Yes.
Ceaseless Expanse, if it's 10 mana, you can go like Agamemnon, play the Ceaseless Expanse, clear their entire board, and deal 10 damage to their face. Like, I don't think you're playing this necessarily because you want to do like 2 Pyroblasts to your opponent's face. You're playing this mainly for the 8/9 and the fact that it does damage to your opponent's face. I will say, and for Warlock specifically, it doesn't have as much burn as it used to. Like, Warlock back in Classic had like Soulfire, it had Doomguard, like it had a bunch of ways to actually just kill your opponent from hand. Warlock has a lot of that taken away from it. So this is like a way for extra reach if you really need it. Or you just...
I mean, that seems good though. It's like you get an 8/9 and a free something. And like the dream is to have something that costs like 10 mana, right? But you don't have to. Like, you can have good sixes, like solid 6s and 7s, and play this and play one of those. It's still a huge life swing, and you got 17 mana out of your 10 mana turn. So if you can live long enough to do this thing, this has got to be one of the better things you can be doing. Like, this is racing to end game. It's very powerful. If there's a way to reduce its cost, if there's some other way to do it at an earlier turn, that's even better. And it seems like Hearthstone is moving in that direction. So I feel like this is a really good card. If you have to pay 10 mana for it, though, here's the thing. The only way this isn't a good card is if you're already dead. Like if you're ahead, it's game over. If you're behind, it's probably the best thing you could try to do to catch up as far as getting so much free mana in such a big turn. If you're at parity, you're way ahead now, and your opponent's behind on life total, and they have to play catch up, or they have to execute some combo that brings them from way behind to way ahead. Like, it puts incredible pressure on all these things because of the different advantages: the health advantage, the mana advantage, and the stats advantage. So the way this is a bad card is if you don't live long enough to cast it. If that just isn't a real option. If either the curve of your deck has to be so low to keep up with what's going on in the game that you can't even get a big advantage off of playing this, or you just never hit turn 10. This has to be, this is mana cheating. This is stats. I think this is good. This is are you going to tell me now that there's a card with a positive win rate? I hope it's this.
Okay. So you're going with, you think this card's good?
Yeah, this card is awesome.
Okay. So let's go back. I'm gonna take a lot of comparisons to when I did my like ratings for these cards. I think your logic makes a lot of sense. I think the fact that it basically is you have to the only caveat to this card is you have to have 10 mana unless you discount it. There is one way of doing it, but it's not a ton. It's only 2 mana. That's a mechanic we'll get to later in this video. That is the only caveat here, but you're right. Like, it's like a free card. You're dealing damage. You're just going to play a card that you were going to play anyways and get this on top of it. But you actually said exactly what the problem with this card is. You have to live long enough to get to this card. Unfortunately, in Hearthstone right now, it's not even necessarily you live long enough. It's, do you need to play this? Do I really need a 10 cost card in my hand to just mana cheat and do damage? Am I really going to wait for 10 mana to play a card that I could play before I get to this card? Probably not. I'd rather play the card immediately, get tempo, and kill my opponent. Which means, unfortunately for Agamemnon here, this card is not very good right now. In fact, if I look at the stats, there's not a single deck that is competitive for Warlock that is currently playing it in Legend to Diamond, and it has a 42% win rate around there. So this card is not good. Now, my tier list, I put it in C, because I said maybe there's a way this card's playable, but the biggest thing holding this back is the fact that it is 10 mana.
In my head, 10 drops got played. There was a time. There were cards we reviewed that were 10 mana. Would Yogg be played in this meta?
Yogg get played in this meta. Yogg, God, that's really tough. Because I think with Yogg, you probably could play it in like Warrior, because Yogg's effect is so powerful that like if you're losing the game, Yogg actually might win you the game. That's the logic behind it, right? Yogg's effect is more powerful than this though. Like I would think Yogg's effect is like near the top when it comes to 10 mana cards, if not the best 10 mana card that's ever existed. So yeah, I think Yogg would be played. I'm confident Yogg would be played.
Okay. Just checking. 10 mana is on the menu if you're Yogg. Got it.
That's so sad. Okay. Here's the next one.
Ersoch is 8 mana for a 9/7 beastie, and its battle cry is to cast the highest cost spell from your hand as an aura that lasts 3 turns.
So mechanically, the way this works is that when you play Ersoch, it will look in your hand, it will see what the highest cost card is, and it'll put it to the top of your portrait. This will proc at the end of your turn, end of your turn, right? So like when you hit end turn, it'll proc it every single time. So the best example of this, and I'll give you the card that they released alongside of it, is this one. Hold on. Does that make sense? Do you understand what I mean? At the end of your turn,
I'm not sure. So I need to see like a card, like if Ersoch casts what would happen?
Read Renewing Flames for me, and then I'll explain exactly how this works.
Renewing Flames is a 7 mana nature spell, and it has lifesteal. Deal 5 damage to the lowest health enemy twice.
You cast Ersoch. Let's just imagine Renewing Flames is the highest cost card in your hand, or highest cost spell in your hand. You cast Ersoch. Renewing Flames would leave your hand. It would become an aura on top of your portrait. When you hit end turn, that aura will proc, because the aura procs at the end of your turn, which means it would cast Renewing Flames every time you hit end turn for the next 3 turns.
Including casting itself the first time?
It would not cast its first time. No. It does not cast it if you play Ersoch.
Cast it as an aura.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
So
it
normally
becomes the aura,
you would cast this. Normally you cast a spell and immediately this thing would happen. But with Ersoch, you cast a spell, but it hovers over your portrait. And on the end of your turn, it goes off for the first time. At the end of your next turn, it goes off again. And at the end of your next turn, it goes off again.
Perfect.
And is that good?
You tell me.
Highest cost spell. So, I mean, with this card, how many of this Renewing Flames do you get? 2, 3?
You have 2.
You have 2? Like, I mean, with this, that's a lot of life, and it picks something off. It's always the lowest health enemy, but if the opponent has 2 that are 5 or less, it kills 1 and then kills the other. You gain 10, and you do that at the end step. That's 30 life and 3 to 6 really hurt things. That's kind of crazy. And you have a 9/7 for it. How does somebody, man, I'm thinking in classic Hearthstone terms, how does somebody beat that? They just don't. In modern Hearthstone terms, where everything is stats and the board is just full of nonsense, is that good enough? I mean, it's not a 9/7 with taunt, so they can attack right past it, but the life gain is kind of like taunt, so it does have that stabilizing thing. But we're talking about specifically with Renewing Flames. If there are other spells that are even more busted that you haven't shown me that you can aura size, then that's pretty sick. Is this a very new, this seems like a unique ability to turn your spell into an aura. That seems very new.
I feel like, yes, this is the first time they've ever done this. They've had auras in the game before, but this is the first time they've like converted a spell into an aura.
So there can be other spells that are going to come out in the future that could also be amazing auras.
Yes.
I mean, this card is reliant on spells at a decent rate that you can cast that help deal with the current meta situation. And I feel like Renewing Flames, this is a new card as well, right? Yep. I mean, for 7 mana, doing this does seem like it's at least a stabilizing force. You're going to be difficult to kill. Doesn't seem impossible, though, with the way things are going.
Okay.
I mean, this is a card that gets good in a larger pool. You just had a classic rotation where your pool is small, right?
Yes.
So
I will say inherently with rotations, as you're probably aware, like the overall power level does get lower.
Yeah.
So
yeah. But one of them is StarCraft.
That is true. Okay.
I don't know if we can go there. I hope that out of the gate this deck showed promise, because this is the kind of thing that people do get excited about.
Okay.
Like, this seems like a pretty fun build around, and it gets you to play spells. Like, this seems like my kind of card. I want to like this card. I'm gonna say, I mean, I think it'll get better, but I'm gonna say that this card is good.
So let's start with Ersoch here. Ersoch, when I saw this in reveal season, I thought it looked really good. I was like, damn, this is that's a good effect. 8 mana, 9/7, and if you're casting Renewing Flames, which I would argue currently is probably the best spell you can cast, that is a lot of life. That is 30 damage, and it heals you. Seems good, right? That's fantastic. Oh my god, that is amazing. The Tavern Brawl, Ursul was insanely good. The amount of times it won me a game from casting Renewing Flames was insane. And Paladin got a weapon this set that draws your highest cost card and has 2 durability, so you're basically guaranteed to draw this. It's very likely you're going to draw this. This card currently is less than 50% win rate for the Paladin deck, and the problem with Ursul with Renewing Flames specifically, hold on, the fire truck is going.
No. That's the alarm that is sounding that this really good Tavern Brawl card isn't doing enough in Hearthstone.
Yeah,
that's the alarm. The alarms are going
They're
off.
Coming in. They're
guys,
like, what the fuck are you talking about?
There's a problem with your set, guys. There's a problem.
Holy shit, they're going crazy out there.
They are very mad over Ursul. I can hear them. Yes.
The problem with Renewing Flames is the fact that a lot of decks currently are running one health minions. So the problem with this is that if it's targeting these token type of minions, yeah, you're getting the life back, but you're not really dealing with the inherent problem on board. Sometimes that life will be enough to carry you throughout the game. And again, it's 30 life. That is a huge swing over 3 turns. But again, it's 3 turns, and you need to make sure that you have the Ursul, you have the Renewing Flames, which is consistent, but it also depends on the board context. It's just maybe right now a little bit too much to ask for. And it's funny, you brought up the StarCraft stuff. The StarCraft stuff is actually inherently one of the biggest issues this deck has, because Zergs are still playable, and there's a lot of cheap ass minions that work with Zerg. This is just not as good as it could be. After the patch, depending on what they nerf, Ursul's stonks will probably go up. I feel like the card has an insane potential, and I think you're completely right too. This card's insane for the next 2 years. At some point in time, there will be another spell, potentially one that costs more than Ursul, which I think is going to make it even better. That will make this insane. I'm realizing as I go through this video, it's kind of depressing.
Oh God, this is going to be a good sequel to the video we made for the new Magic set, where I showed you all the mono red cards and all the cards that just died of mono red. Yeah.
Let's see what you think about this one.
Our games are hanging out together. They're just more broken.
Ours, at least ours nerfs. So
that's nice for you.
We'll get better. There you go.
I'm jealous. Brawl Bear Mantle is 5 mana for a 3/5 straight out of Animal Crossing. It says after you cast a spell, summon a random animal companion. God, I was more right than I thought. We got a Huffer. All right. Yep. We can hang out with our companion, can be Huffer. Doesn't look like good company if I'm being honest. A 4/2 charge. We've got Leok. Your other minions have +1 attack for a 2/4. We have Mishra. Nope. That's a magic card. Misha, which is a 4/4 taunt, which actually seems like a good one. Okay, it's a lot of stats for 5 on 2 bodies. You got stats for 5 on 2 bodies, and it's random. You don't know what you're gonna get.
You have no idea.
I mean, some of them are a lot better, like when you're behind, and some of them are a lot better when you're ahead. But in general, this looks like a solid value card from another time.
Okay.
I mean, dude, if you pay 5 mana and you're gonna get, gosh, we're paying 5 mana for like 7 power, like somewhere between 7 and 8 power and like 8 and 9 health on 2 bodies. That has to, in some world, value is still good, right? In some world.
Yeah.
Oh my. It should be. This is Druid, right?
It's Hunter.
So you're not doing this on turn 3. Okay. The pure stats on the board are so they sound good, but then it's like, all right, if it were a 5 mana 9/9, would we play it? If that's all it was? I'm gonna say that this is immediately like, you look at it and like, that's so much value, that's so good, and then I'm gonna be like, and I bet it doesn't win a lot. I bet it doesn't win as much as you think it should, because I'm guessing that what the opponent is doing to generate stats consistently and knowing what they're doing is gonna be better a lot of the time. I'm not impressed. I should be impressed, but I'm not. This seems, oh God, I feel bad. I feel bad. This animal companion card. I bet people with actual, like, I would say core synergy in their deck are beating this every time. I'm guessing this isn't actually a good card.
Final answer?
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about Brawl Bear Mantle here. When card was revealed, I literally said the exact same thing you did. I said, I don't know why you would ever want to play it. There's one scenario where I think it'd be really cool, but this is straight Disneyland. You go Burl Bear Mantle, you have enough spells, you get Huffer, Leok. And that is like, I think lethal from lethal from board. Maybe 5 off, because you don't have enough space. That's the dream, right?
Yeah. But
that dream is not a reality. I have never seen this card get played. In the Tavern Brawl and in the actual standard format. So currently it is unplayable. In older Hearthstone, I think this card could go crazy. I think this card should be 4 mana. I don't think it's doing anything egregious. Hunter doesn't have currently like a great way of generating a ton of spells anyways. So like in order for you to make this work, you're gonna have to kind of go like really in for it.
Yeah, I was trying to say what a good Hunter spell would be. I was thinking about asking that, then I was like, I don't even know if it matters. I was like
Yeah, so after StarCraft gets nerfed, hopefully, we'll have to wait and see whether or not it is actually playable. But let me give you this card.
Blizzard. Listen to me. You've made enough money from StarCraft now, right? We can move on. We can move along. Maybe. Okay. Anyway, let's read this big green thing. This is 9 mana for Ysera Emerald Aspect, which is a 4/12 dragon. And it says, ooh, it has a start of the game effect. Increase both players' maximum mana by 5. Oh, and the battle cry is to gain 3 mana crystals. Oh, Druid. Where's our Druids at? Where's our Druids? Okay. Ramples. Big Ramples. Battle cry, gain 3 mana crystals. I'm wondering if there are cards that are normally like really hard to play or that have a lot of that card that costs 100 mana and gets cheaper throughout the game. That's a rarity, right? They don't usually go above 10 mana.
They've got right? They'll go above like 10 mana. Like for instance, like Mountain Giant was 13 or 12
yeah,
or whatever it was. So,
that's
but 100 mana is like uncalled for. Like that is a card they've never done before. That is insane.
So man, there needs to be, the awkward part is that the game is kind of designed around that 10 mana threshold. So it's not like you're easily going to find cards that scale into using 12 or 13 mana comfortably. You need mana sinks or engines that are producing so much value and stuff to play that you can use extra mana. I bet that's one of the limitations on the game. It's fun to break the rule, but when you do, you see that not many cards were designed with that intention in mind. So you might just sit there with your best things and extra mana crystals you're not using. I mean, it's definitely best in a deck that like generates stuff and can keep using it. You really need to use all your crystals every turn. Battlecry, gain 3 mana crystals for a 9 mana card. Even if we ramp into it. Yeah, I mean, in an older Hearthstone, I'd be like, that probably pushes you to end games much sooner than people want you to see them. And it's probably very good there. Gain 3 mana crystals. At least you can use those mana crystals right away, but it's only 3. You are paying 9 mana for a 4/12. That is, you have to survive, and then your next turn might be able to be busted with those 3 mana crystals. But you spent most of your mana on a 4/12. Let's say that you didn't get let's credit the 3 mana crystals. Let's say we actually use them somehow the turn we play this. We still spent like 6 for a 4/12. Would we do that with no abilities? Nah, we wouldn't do that. We'd probably die for doing such things.
Okay.
All right. Anytime I've leaned into, God, this could be a sick end game, I've been wrong. So I'm saying this card is not good. And that's too bad. This is a Timmy card.
So this is it's a Timmy card. All right, so let's start off with the actual card itself before we get to the start of the game. 9 mana, 4/12, Battlecry, 3 mana crystal. Battlecry, gain 3 mana crystals is not great. I think that's pretty obvious. The only reason this card would be good for that reason is that you cheat Ysera first, because Ysera gives you like actual mana crystals you can use immediately, not empty ones. So if it is cheaper and you can generate the 3 mana crystals, that actually is not horrible. But you're not really running Ysera for that effect. You're running Ysera because of the start of game effect. You're talking about how the game isn't designed for like 15 mana if you're the one playing this. But the thing about Hearthstone is you generate a lot of shit. Like Discover is really good. There's a bunch of ways of getting more cards in your hand. There's usually always mana you want to play. And having 15 mana enables combos that you could not do. There was a card back in the day called Guff Rune Totem, and he is a hero card for Druid, which will allow you your maximum mana to be 20. Now, without the obvious, you get to ramp with it every single turn because its hero powers to gain an empty mana crystal, so you got to that mana faster. But obviously being at 20 mana versus 10 allows you to do combos that don't exist if you're at 10 mana. And Ysera kind of enables the exact same thing, which means Ysera is actually a very playable card right now. And in fact, looking at the metagame, the card's in a variety of different decks that are actually very good in Legend.
Huh. Okay. How come this card gets to play late game Hearthstone and others don't?
Give me an example of a card though. Like, you mean like Agamemnon, for example?
Sure. Yeah. Why not?
So Ysera inherently is a card that you're not necessarily playing, right? It is just you can almost kind of like it's the 30th card in your deck, but because it gives you the extra maximum mana crystals without actually playing the 9 mana, that is an important stat to think about because it will allow you later in the game as the game continues going. The other thing is Warlock doesn't necessarily need Agamemnon to win the game because you need to get to 10 mana before you would play a card that you would play earlier, right? In a class like Death Knight that doesn't care about casting Agamemnon whatsoever and just wants to control the board until it can go for a ginormous swing turn, etc., could use Ysera to just get even powerful the later the game goes, because the extra mana crystals that your opponent is getting, even though this is symmetrical, if they're not running a value-oriented deck or they're not running a deck that can use the mana, it doesn't matter to them. It doesn't matter like at all, right? But you as the person that's building your deck is inclined to actually use the mana in a variety of different ways. So Ysera being the start of a game effect that you don't necessarily have to play does enable her to go into decks that are going to be going for that extra generation, extra value, late game decks.
All right. Nightmare Lord Xavius is 4 mana, 4/4 demon, battle cry, discover a minion from your deck and give it a dark gift. What does that mean?
Now, before I show you what a dark gift is, what do you think it is?
A dark gift?
Yeah, what do you think it is?
I think it's... So when I think of a dark gift, I think of some kind of a stats buff, but a downside on a text box of like lose 2 life during your upkeep or lose 2 life when you cast this, or like something that has a little monkey paw. You get power, but you take damage in some way. You pay some cost.
Okay, so that's not inherently what it is. It's not a negative. I wouldn't put it like that. I'll explain what dark gift does. So before we get to dark gifts, let me explain what discover is. Discover is, it shows you 3 cards and you get to pick between those 3 cards. You get to pick one. What dark gifts are is it lets you discover, but each one of those discovers has a dark gift under it. The dark gifts are completely random based on the pool I'm going to show you here, okay? And that means that with Xavius, you are going to discover 3 different minions from your deck, and each of them will have a dark gift, okay? Does that make sense?
I think so.
Before I show you the dark gift, this is one of the core mechanics of the set. So I feel like I should do Alex the favor here to hear how you, as a Magic player, think about dark gifts.
Okay. So you can have Divine Shield and Wind Fury. Wah wah. You can have Walking Terror +3 attack and lifesteal. Nice. You can be well rested and have +2/+2 and elusive. You can have Short Claws and cost 2 less, but also have -2 attack. You can have +4 health and taunt and be bundled up. You can be a living nightmare. And when you play this minion, summon a 2/2 copy of it. Gross. You can be a sleepwalker with charge. You get a dark gift, and you get a dark gift. You can have a rude awakening, and its battle cry can trigger twice. Nice. Sweet dreams. +4, +5. Jesus Christ. Place this card on top of your deck. Oh, so you don't get it right away. You have to draw it next turn. Sure.
Yeah.
Persisting Horror is reborn with full health and enchantments.
So normally reborn is you summon with 1 health. This is you summon with full health, and you get to keep any buffs that are on the character.
Oh,
or on the minion.
So that's nice.
So
that's
every dark gift is basically a buff. The only one that you can maybe argue isn't a buff is, and this is gonna sound weird, is the -2 mana and -2 attack, depending on the minion. But most of them are just objectively buffs. I will say too, like if a minion doesn't have battle cry, obviously it's not getting the battle cry trigger twice thing. Like it won't do that. But you could evaluate as like Xavius as discover a minion from your deck, get an upgrade.
Get an upgraded minion from your deck. Draw a card that's in your deck, but more busted than it normally would be.
Sure, that's a great way of putting it. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, this card's sick. There's probably. On its own, incredibly cool to play, incredibly fun, sweet card. The floor is pretty high. You're drawing a new card, and it's better than it would be if you normally drew it. Then, like some of these, I imagine paired up with the right card in the right way, like the cost 2 less or the double battle cry or things like that. suddenly you're just playing a card that would not be put in the game. It would be too busted. Like the cards in your deck should already be good. That is the only way you're playing a Hearthstone deck right now.
Okay.
You don't like, we're not just chill wind yetiing like we used to. These are already good cards.
Okay.
And now you're going to throw this stuff on them, and you pick the combination that's the most busted. You get 3 different looks. The odds are that one of these is too good for Hearthstone. So the potential problem with this card is if you spent a turn playing a 4-mana 4/4, is that too weak? Did you waste your turn on this card?
Okay.
Like, regardless of drawing a busted card, is a 4-mana 4/4 too bad to play? There's no way. We're not there, right? It's early enough in the game that this should be able to at least generate an okay presence that the opponent has to think about. And what comes out next is probably something they can't print because it's too good. Like, I think this card is good. This card, there's probably, the downside is just that you have a slightly better than normal card that was in your deck anyway. And the upside is you draw something completely insane. So yes, I'm giving this card a hell yes. Let's go. This card's
hell yes.
Hell yes to this card. This is my favorite card that you've shown me.
Okay, so let me go back in time here. So we go to reveal season. Up until this point, I did not play with Dark Gifts until the Tavern Brawl. They were in Arena for a little bit, so you got to kind of feel what they would be like. There's other cards that will do Dark Gifts, but I'm not going to go through them because it's too much effort. But for the main purpose, when I saw Xavius for the first time, I said to myself, this card is the best card I've seen so far. It's not even fucking close. Because even without the Dark Gift, right, I think you'd be fine playing a 4-mana 4/4 Discover a minion from your deck. I don't think we've ever really had an effect like that that's that consistent amongst every class as a neutral card, and you get a 4-drop, or 4/4 I should say. That seems good. And then the Dark Gifts themselves all looked insane, especially the charge one, especially the battle cry trigger twice. Some of them are just so powerful. This card right now, I believe, is the most played card in Standard. Most played legendary in Standard, I should say. And it's in a variety of different decks that are doing very well. And you would be shocked to see some of the combinations of cards that you can get this game. I really like the way you put it. I really like the way you put it. It's cards that wouldn't exist in Hearthstone because they would be too broken. I think that's a great way of looking at it. I'm not going to show you the Warlock one. One of the Warlock legendaries, the other one they got is called Wallow. And Wallow is, it's a 7/6/6, but it gets every Dark Gift that you've gotten throughout the game. So you can end up putting Charge. You can end up putting Wind Fury Divine Shield on it, and you can get its attack to be insane. I killed someone in the Tavern Brawl at 30 life on turn 7 because of the Dark Gifts that I got. That deck, surprisingly, I thought Wallow was going to be really good, but that card's a little hard to rate in a vacuum, I think, just because of you have to see every single card. Is actually not doing that great.
I love it. I love this card so much. This is our new Chillwind Yeti. This is power crept to the moon Chillwind Yeti here. Every deck.
So before I show you the next card, let's just take a moment here. What do you think about Dark Gifts? Like, do you think that's a cool mechanic? This is mainly for Alex to hear your opinion on from a Magic the Gathering perspective.
Okay. Yes, I think it's done right on a card like this, where you have to play this card to get access to like a grouping of them, and then you get this choice of some things might line up better. I think this is well done. I'm curious how it's done on other cards, because if it's just like pay 1 mana to get a Dark Gift randomly applied to a card in your hand, I don't know. That sounds a little crazy.
Most of the cards for Dark Gifts is always with Discovers. So actually all of them are with Discovers. So like the neutral one they gave was a 2-mana 1/2 Discover a 3-cost card with the Dark Gift. That's like maybe one of the most prominent ones you'd see, like especially in the Tavern Brawl and Arena. And that's one of the reasons why they with the 4/5 it goes on top of your deck, because then it shows to your opponent they're about to drop like an absolute disgusting minion on you, so you better be prepared.
Yeah.
It's only with Discovers. I think overall the mechanic in Standard is very well done. It's a lot of fun, and like Discover was one of the most exciting mechanics that has ever been added to Hearthstone. Some people would argue that they hate it, but like most people really like it. And this is like Discover Premium, and it makes combinations
Discover
that are
Premium
insane.
is a good way to put it. That's a good way to put it. Yeah, I like Premium cool. Discover then. Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna show you 2 more cards.
We're back to big expensive cards, which I am known for evaluating perfectly. Aviana, Elun's Chosen, 7/11. Of course it is. It's a 9 mana 7/11. The battle cry is start a 3-turn lunar cycle. When the full moon rises, your cards cost 1 this game. A 3-turn lunar cycle. So I'm guessing on your turn is turn 1. On their turn is turn 2. On your turn would be turn 3. Is that when the full moon rises?
You play this, goes to the next turn. There's like the cycle continues. You go to the next turn, the cycle continues. You go to the next turn, it's done.
Okay, so it's only counting your turns, not your opponent's turns.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's way worse.
Yes. Okay. Oh my God. That would be so ridiculous if it counted my opponent's turn.
I mean, look, I did the Yu-Gi-Oh video recently where I watched a match of Yu-Gi-Oh and people were like, you don't understand. You're saying that they're losing the game on turn 1, but in Yu-Gi-Oh, turns are counted as each opponent's turn. So technically they lost on turn 2. And I'm like, it doesn't fucking matter.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Oh my God. They're like, people really need me to know that. They lost on turn 2, technically. It's like they still didn't get to play. All right. So you need to play this for 9, and then you need to live 3 turns to get the payoff. Nope. Trash. Nice try. LOL, lunar cycle. There has to be a way to like speed up the moon, to like mess with the tides. You have to be able to like ruin the lunar cycle. There has to be some combo that gets it to go off the next turn. And maybe if it went off the next turn, I'd be like, yeah, this is a pop off card. And it does tell the opponent you have to kill me right now. I mean, 7-11 is it's a big meatball, but it's still a meatball. This is a meatball that says the opponent now knows how long they have to kill you, so they'll play accordingly, because God, this card ain't it. This card ain't it.
You're going with horrible? Even though after 3 turns for the rest of the game, all cards that you have in your deck and hand and discover are all going to cost 1.
You're just going to be dead before then. What? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Okay, so yeah, you're totally right. The problem with this card though is like I said that I described this in my chat a lot. This card would be really cool maybe if it was cheaper, but I think at 9 mana, if you play this and you don't die in 3 turns, the game's probably over anyways. So like you like, even if you live to this and you play it, like if you're playing a 9 mana 7/11 and you're still surviving after 3 turns, like how can you lose? Like the game's over. So what the 1 cost cards basically do is like finish the game off quicker, I guess, or I don't know, give your opponent a reason to concede. But yeah, this card I have not seen get played once. If you do randomly generate it, it's fun. Overall, that is not the case. This one, I'm very excited to see what you think of it.
Well, it's 3 mana, so it's probably playable.
Okay.
Let's see. Ren Feral the Malignant is 3 mana for a 3/3 beast with Battle Cry. Trap 1 random card in your opponent's hand for a turn. Improved for each time you've played this. Huh?
What do you mean,
each time you played this.
So Rogue has like Shadow Step.
Oh, it's Rogue.
Right?
Oh, yeah. Okay, we're doing
so,
that.
Yeah, you want to basically bounce this back to your hand and force your opponent to like skip their turn in a sense, right? Or just play the top deck card. That's the end goal.
Yep. Oh my God. The more you play it, the worse it is, my friend. Oh my nastiness. So it's trapped for a turn.
Yeah, which basically means like they just can't play it for that turn.
Yep. And it's random. So the ceiling is very high, and the floor is you trap their expensive card that they weren't going to play anyway, and they kill it or trade with it so that you don't get to do the thing you want to do, which is bounce it back later. That's a big range. I don't think anybody's excited about casting a 3 mana 3/3.
I would agree with that.
So it does require specific cards to play it multiple times. And then you also probably don't want it to stay on the board, because the opponent will like go out of their way to kill it if your deck is built around bouncing this.
Yeah, so let me show you this card real fast. I think this is also important because they got this card as well.
Web of Deception is 2 mana to return a friendly minion to your hand and summon a 4/4 Spire with Stealth. Oh shit. Okay, we can bounce stuff and get paid. That's nice. That's pretty nice. Oh my goodness.
And Shadow Step exists. Remember that.
Yep,
0 mana.
Yep. That's 1 mana, right?
0 mana, bounce a minion back to your hand. It costs 2 less. Yes.
It's actually free. Oh my God.
Step is a pretty fucking good card. It's pretty good.
That's pretty insane. Okay. Yeah, the high roll on this card is brutal. It's nasty. And then yeah, if you high roll and draw like 2 Shadow Steps in one of these and your opponent isn't running you over, if they're not way ahead by the turn you play this, and you're good enough at the game to freeze a card they wanted to play, and then the next turn you trap 2 cards, and the next turn you Web of Deception, you have a 4/4, and then you play it again and you trap 3 cards, which is a big chunk of their hand, and now they can't play the game. That's nasty. Is that Rarran land? Did we just go to Rarran land? Did we take the kids to Rarran land today?
Did we?
I mean, I don't know. So the amount of action Shadow Step gets, like, it doesn't seem like it's hard to build around these combos. It seems to work. At the floor, you play this. The very worst it is you play this and you freeze something they weren't going to play anyway. That's not good. That is pretty bad. But the opponents still, when they see this, probably have to respect it enough to go after it. That alone is kind of tempo good.
So you're saying that's like pseudo taunt, right? Like you have to.
Yeah. It has fake taunt.
Okay.
I think. So when I picture it against like a Zerg deck, do they care? All their cards do like the same thing. Make more Zerg, buff more Zerg, win game. I can't imagine Rogue likes that situation. But against any deck that's trying to set up, like that's trying to do more setup, this seems absolutely nasty. Like against decks I like control decks, this is absolutely nasty. This is tough because it is a huge range. It's high ceiling, low floor.
Let me actually show you one more piece of the puzzle that I should have mentioned. I think you are.
I'm circling either. I'm circling the right answer. Or I'm circling the drain. One of the two. And Rarran can't wait to help me out. Twisted Webweaver, 1 mana for a 1/3 beast. Whenever you play another minion you've already played, draw a card. Oh god. And it's a 1 mana 1/3, right? Those are busted in Hearthstone.
Those are pretty good. I feel like I'm just showing you this because I feel like one of the conclusions you could probably get to is the fact that like you're using all of your cards to stop your opponent from playing, but like you need other cards to win the game. So this is like the mechanic that solves that problem.
Yep. Just keep the value coming. And then eventually you just lock them out of playing. God, if you're able to play this enough times and draw into enough of them and ways to bounce them, you can win with trash because they don't get to play. Trash wins games. That's how it works. A good control deck locks them down and then wins with whatever's lying around. Alrighty. Oh God, I'm still scared of the floor. I'm not gonna lie, I'm still scared of the floor. This is a lot of nice pieces, and I bet when it's doing the thing, it's rolling. But I bet this is also a deck that can feel like it's doing nothing at times and be very sad. But I'm gonna say that's a good card. This archetype, this is made to be an archetype. This is made to be a deck, and this card is a nasty, nasty card when it gets cooking. So yeah, it's snowbally. Let's say this card's good. I am afraid that there are fail cases where this deck just feels useless though.
So it's funny you mentioned feels useless. I have never seen this card get played. And if I go look to find a deck where this card has actually been played, it is not. So at the moment, I have to say this card is useless and bad.
This card is trash. It's too fat. Yeah.
So
the floor is too low, man. I knew it, and I got optimistic because you showed me all the cool cards. And I got excited because of the bounce deck and standard. And now I feel like crap.
So me personally, I think I put this card in like C tier or D tier. Okay. I couldn't remember what I put this in. One of the most notorious sites for like decks is called Vicious Syndicate. And they kind of went through the exact same process that you did for this card. And they actually rated it pretty high. I don't think that Vicious Syndicate was really anticipating the metagame that we have currently. Because again, a lot of the older stuff is just really good. And maybe after a balance patch, this card ends up being better. The issue I could see having with this card though is like, if your opponent has any board, it feels so much worse to play this whole like archetype, right? Yeah. And I think the thing is like Web of Deception and Twisted Webweaver are cards that fit into other archetypes where like you need to use all your resources on that legendary, otherwise it doesn't do anything. Because we've had cards in the game that have been 4 mana 5/4 lock a card for your opponent, and that card never saw any play. So you need to do it multiple times in specific circumstances where maybe you have the absolute dream hand, it could go insane. But I think in a lot of games in Hearthstone, it's just not going to happen. You would have to be targeting something so specific. Rogue currently, I don't think has the resources to really just end a game early enough for that card to just win the game with like blocking on your opponent's cards in hand. And because they get the top deck, you might, like you said, like they're just gonna draw the good card anyways, like who cares? So it ends up being like not good. Now I'll keep you updated whether or not this card ends up being playable after nerfs, but Card is around for 2 years. Maybe if Rogue gets more bounce effects, it ends up being better. But Twisted Web Weaver and Web of Deception will be played throughout the next 2 years. Like I can guarantee, like both of those cards are absolutely insane.
Yay. Well, I mean, maybe someday in a world where the board isn't already killing you on turn 3 and you can play something off rate that has long game potential. Am I right?
So before I wrap this up, I'm not going to get you to rate this card, but I showed you like every wild god for the most part that was released in this set. This is the payoff for the other side. I talked about Dark Gifts. There's the Imbue package. You could just read this. You don't have to evaluate this card, but this is where most of the wild gods are played from.
Malorn the Waywatcher is 8 mana for an 8/6 beast with this battle cry. Discover a legendary wild god. If you've imbued your hero power 4 times, set its cost to 1.
So imbuing's the other mechanic. I'm not going to go through what that is, but it's very easy. If you're playing imbue decks, you're going to put this card in, and then that's where you see most of the wild gods. So now, if you're curious, you can go back. Agamemnon could be discovered 1 mana to cheat out a card that costs way more than 1 mana and deal damage to your opponent.
Wow.
Ersoch could be a 1 mana board clear, and all of a sudden that card looks a lot better. Ersoch could be discovered in a class that's not Paladin, and you get a really good spell as an aura. And that's pretty much it. Aviana, right? You can start your Lunar Cycle at 1 mana. Og?
What about the turtle?
You could get the turtle.
Yeah, for 1 mana. That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
That's where a lot of these wild gods are being played, in case you're curious. We have to remember, and this is mainly for Alex's sake, that after they do nerfs, I think this expansion will shine a lot more. There's a lot of cool things in here. Again, I'm a huge fan of Dark Gifts. I think they're really well designed. But we'll have to wait and see. I'm sorry I showed you these cards in a vacuum that were like most of them are unplayable.
I just did the same thing to you for the Dark Years review.
That's fair.
Alex, these are cool cards. I hope we get to play them someday. Hold on.
Yo, relax. Okay, you ready?
Okay, fine. How much snot would you like?
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyways.